And a good Monday afternoon, Quad Cities. It is 12:05 right now on the clock on this Monday, April 27th. This is our noon severe weather discussion and getting a little bit more clarity about what's going to happen this afternoon when it comes to our chance of seeing some scattered severe thunderstorms coming through the region. So that's going to be our primary focus here for about the next 20 minutes or so. As usual, and like what you saw with this morning, if you've got a question related to the severe weather threat coming up later this afternoon into this evening, you can drop that question in the live stream chat. You can also text it to this number at the bottom of your screen, 309-304-0888. Before we get to the severe weather portion of this afternoon, just a heads up, and you're likely already noticing some very strong winds ripping through our region here early this afternoon. These winds have been gusting up to 50 to 55 miles per hour, and they're coming in behind that big, expansive complex of rain and thunderstorms that we've been dealing with for much of the morning. Big pressure difference between what's in front of that rain complex and what's behind it. And of course, with that difference in pressure, you're going to get these very strong wind gusts. They have led to more than 500 power outages here between Iowa and Illinois and the metro Quad Cities alone. And I know there were tens of dozens of other power outages in some of our other hometowns. So if you're without power, the wind is likely the reason why. I've also seen some tree damage and some outbuilding damage that was sent to us by a viewer in Sherrard as some strong winds whipped through there. So these winds, generally speaking, they're moving east. I want to show you our wind gust tracker right now to show you where the corridor of the strongest winds is. And that would be from roughly Dubuque down to Savannah, now getting into Sterling Rock Falls, also into Kewaunee. And soon this whole wave of really strong winds will be pushing east into areas like Princeton and Dixon, Illinois. In fact, we've already seen it in Dixon. I'll take you to the camera there in just a moment. But behind it, you can see things are starting to settle down just a little bit. So this corridor of strong wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour in the red, that will last for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then you'll start to see winds subside as we head into the afternoon. It's been amazing to watch, though, the quick moving clouds that have come with this wind. We got our Whiteside County Airport camera back, and we've just been watching clouds race across the sky. Of course, some good movement on the flagpole there, too. Whitecaps, not only on the Mississippi River, but also on the Rock River. This is our Rock River view from our Dixon camera, which has also had some good movement with it, too, as some stronger winds have been whipping through there. So again, the wind's going to be lasting for about another 45 minutes to an hour. Could cause some power outages, could also down some trees and some other light damage too, especially to outbuildings, weaker structures. Those could be vulnerable to the wind, so take great care with that. If you're going to be commuting in the next hour, bridges, overpasses, you need a firm grip on that steering wheel. These winds, again, coming in behind a strong area of low pressure that rapidly developed with this large complex of thunderstorms this morning. We call it a wake low, and it's not uncommon. In fact, it's very normal for something like this to happen, and we see it a lot, not only this time of year, but especially in the summer. So let me show you what's going on right now, and we'll get the ingredients here together to show you what is likely going to happen as we head into the afternoon. So here's the current situation. Obviously, that large, expansive area of rain and thunderstorms has now moved off to the east. It has some severe weather on the south side of it. In fact, Champaign was most recently under a tornado warning here not that long ago. But what this complex of rain and thunderstorms has done is it has shoved a warm front all the way south here to St. Louis. This is the trigger mechanism, or where you're going to have the most intense thunderstorms today. And because this has moved in throughout the morning and shoved that boundary to the south, it is not going to have a lot of time to retreat northward today. So that's why the severe weather threat has been moved further south versus what we were tracking earlier in the weekend and as early as yesterday. Everything has moved south. Now, the severe weather threat is not zero, because what we have to track next is the cold front. That will be sweeping in here as we go into the afternoon. That will provide the opportunity for some widely scattered thunderstorms, one or two of which may briefly become severe heading into the evening. I want to show you what we're seeing in terms of the view from space, and already we're starting to see some what we call agitated cumulus clouds right here west of the Des Moines metro. And you also notice The clearing is coming in. So we talked a little bit about, if we don't get a lot of clearing, we're not going to see a lot of severe weather today. Well, we are going to see some clearing this afternoon. But the thing with the setup today is, with all this going on to the south of us, this environment here is really going to take away a lot of storm energy from this environment up here. This environment will be less favorable where we're at for widespread intense thunderstorms. This environment down here will be very favorable for widespread intense thunderstorms. So you see the difference there. So this is what we're going to be watching and tracking going into the afternoon. You've got this area right here, so this would be where your boundary sits. And then ahead of that, you have what we call these agitated cumulus clouds. So those are going to advance eastward through the early afternoon. They'll likely arrive that boundary here after 4 o'clock, and that's what's going to touch off some scattered thunderstorm activity. But again, keyword scattered. Not going to be widespread, not going to be as intense as what it looked like when we were forecasting and tracking this later last week and over the weekend. So that's the good news. So let me show you the severe storm zones. And this is now up to date. We heard from the Storm Prediction Center with the 11:30 update. And you can see now the 3 out of 5 risk has been taken completely out of the region. It's gone. That is fantastic news. That means we are not expecting widespread severe weather for this afternoon. It's more scattered. Love it. Unfortunately, for folks downstate, that's not going to be the case. And as I've said most of the morning, if you have friends, family members from south of Springfield down to Carbondale, Southern Illinois University, St. Louis, and into southeast Missouri, might be worth a text or a phone call. Hey, are you keeping up with the weather today? Especially if you have students at SIU. I think the St. Louis School District, last I heard, was dismissing students 2 hours early today because the threat for tornadoes is so high. And it's not just the threat for tornadoes, it's the threat for strong, long track tornadoes that is very high. But I want you to see how close we came to having that scenario, this situation, up here in the Quad Cities. When we were looking at data Friday, Saturday, and even into yesterday, this environment was right over top of us. Thank goodness for a last-minute move in low pressure tracking more to the south in this area of rain and thunderstorms coming in this morning to shove it out of our region. Otherwise, this is what we would have been dealing with this afternoon. No doubt about it. So we really got saved by that low pressure taking a farther southerly track and the rain and thunderstorms pushing that warm front further south this morning. So you can see what's left behind for the afternoon. It's a level 2 out of 5. That means scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible. But again, we're not going to see widespread severe weather. It's not going to be one of those cases like we've seen for the last couple of weeks where we're going to be on air for hours at a time. What will likely happen is we'll get 1 or 2 storms that'll briefly go severe, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, then go unsevere, and it'll just kind of cycle through. So our severe weather threat today is not 0, but it is considerably lower again than what it looked like late last night. Let's go over some of the other zones here really quickly now that, again, we have the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center. Still keeping it a 2 out of 5 for the tornado threat today. Again, it's not 0, but not as high as it was earlier. Could see a quick spin up with some of the storms today. And what I mean by quick spin up is it's not going to be a strong tornado. What's going to be strong in terms of tornado is what's down in St. Louis and in downstate Illinois. That's a 4 out of 5 for tornadoes today. That is very high. So we're likely, unfortunately, going to be looking at and seeing some devastating images coming out of that region later today. Definitely thoughts and prayers and everything you can throw to those folks in downstate Illinois and southeast Missouri. It's going to be a very rough afternoon for them. Again, quick spin-up tornado possible here as we go into the afternoon and evening. The wind threat, thankfully, has also subsided. So perhaps some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts if a storm can realize it. But it looks like even the damaging wind threat is beginning to tone itself down as well. Let's go through Future Track. We get a new update every hour, and it's kind of been showing the same story all morning long. We've had this morning round of rain and thunderstorms. Then we get into the afternoon, little sunshine coming our way, just a little bit of storm energy, and then the cold front sweeps through right about 5 to 7 o'clock. You can see here we've got a broken line of thunderstorms sitting off to the west, but you notice the coverage isn't all that great. Yeah, the line gets a little bit fuller here by about 6, 7 o'clock, but we're still not expecting widespread severe weather. This will be a quick rush of some wind, perhaps again up to 60 miles an hour, perhaps an isolated brief spin-up tornado, and then that line will be out of here very quickly as we get to 8 o'clock and beyond. So we're watching that window, kind of tightening it up a little bit more. I would say now from 5 to 8 p.m. as opposed to 4 to 8 p.m. And we'll adjust that timing here as we go into the afternoon. But I would say 5 to 8, that's when we still need to be on guard for some scattered strong to severe thunderstorms with a damaging wind threat up to 60 miles an hour and a quick spin-up tornado, weak tornado. But again, the tornado threat is not zero, but it is definitely there today because we are so close to that area of low pressure. It's not that far away. So there's the line again. Let's time this out. About 5 o'clock if you're west of the Quad Cities from Washington, Iowa through Iowa City. That's where the storms will get going into Maquoketa. You get to the 6 o'clock hour. That line is sitting just to our west. So Muscatine into the Quad Cities metro, into Maquoketa, into Savannah, also into Galena. By 6:30, we're crossing the river over to the Illinois side. Clinton, Fulton, Savannah, Chadwick, Milledgeville, Prophetstown, Morrison in there, Geneseo, down to Aledo, Galesburg, Macomb. And then we get to 7:30, 7:30, Sterling Rock Falls, Kewaunee, Princeton, Mount Carroll, Galesburg's in there. Looks like that would be out of Macomb by then too. Princeton, a little bit closer to 7:30. And then we're fully out of the region as expected right around 8 o'clock. So smaller little window this evening. Again, not as intense in terms of the thunderstorms, not as widespread as what we were expecting versus the last couple of days. So there's a lot of good news to be had when it comes to that. Another thing we can show you too, if you look at the storm energy that's going to be coming our way as we go into this evening, it's a very narrow corridor of storm energy. And you can see that right there, stretching to the east side of the Mississippi River. All of the large amounts of storm energy are going to be tied up way to the south along that cold front. I'm going to move this into my space here really quick so I can put a pause point on this and zoom out so you can see the difference, our storm energy versus what they're going to be working with to the south here. So let's pause this. I'm going to zoom it out, and you will see a huge difference. Look at all that storm energy in the St. Louis region compared to what we've got up here. Huge difference. Where you're seeing those kind of bright and fiery colors, that's a ton of storm energy down there to the south. We don't have nearly as much up here versus what's going to be happening down here where things are really going to get quite intense later this afternoon. So all of this storm energy down here kind of takes away from what we have left up here, which isn't much. So that's why, again, our severe weather threat risk is coming down a bit here. No more 3 out of 5, just a 2 out of 5. So again, we got saved, thank goodness. It's not looking as bad as what it did yesterday. Again, what's happening in St. Louis could have easily been us today if that area of low pressure would have tracked a little bit further to the north. And that's why I always say, James always says it, Morgan always says it, everybody always says it. You have to stick close to the forecast because it's going to change. If anyone could predict the weather with 100% certainty and never get it wrong, they'd be a zillionaire, a trillionaire, whatever the biggest monetary sum of money is. But obviously that has not happened yet. Weather is still an unexact science. It's very humbling. There are guaranteed to be changes. We do our best to keep you updated with those changes. And one of the ways you can help yourself with those changes is by constantly checking in with us. We are putting out updates all of the time as things evolve and trying to do our best to get the best message out there. This could have absolutely been a much bigger event. And unfortunately for the folks to the south, they're going to get that big event. Fortunately for us here, we will not. This will be a much more lower intensity event than what it could have been. Hate to even think of what it could have been around here because it was looking downright nasty over the weekend. So that's the update for this afternoon. Meteorologist Morgan Strackbein is going to be in this evening for James. I'm going to keep an eye on things from home with the radar. If it looks like things are going to get cooking a little bit more than what we anticipate, I'll run on in. Morgan and myself will tag team it and get the coverage done that we need to do. So no worries about that. We'll have coverage not only just on the air, but also on the 8+ app. And I'm sure we'll simulcast that to our Facebook page as well. But either way, we are prepared for no matter what this line coming in later this afternoon is going to do. We will have you covered. And again, that's why we still have our weather impact alert in place. We did not get rid of that because, again, the severe weather threat today is not zero, but it is substantially lower than what it looked like as we were going through the weekend and before. So I hope that helps with your afternoon and evening planning. I know there's a lot of track and field events going on. There's a lot of baseball, softball going on. If you've got those games for this evening, not a bad idea to make sure you have the Storm Track 8 app. It gives you lightning alerts. It gives you rain alerts. Honestly, it's the first app that alerts me when something's coming in my direction. So I would highly recommend grabbing that. That way you've got it on your phone. It's ready to go. And you won't be caught off guard by what could be coming in this evening. And thank goodness, once it's in and out in a matter of an hour, and that's it. It's an hour of inconvenience this evening is what we're looking at. And we'll see what the storm holds in terms of its strength. Again, not expecting these to be super, super intense, but they definitely will pack a punch in terms of some wind and hopefully not an isolated tornado. My darn collar just doesn't want to stay on. That's all right. Let's see what we've got for the comments and the questions here before we get into our rest of our afternoon. Let's see, who do we start with? Who's number one atop of here? We have Richard in the chat this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. Good afternoon. Tiffany saying it's getting sunny in Burlington. Is that a bad omen for tonight? Even if it's going to be sunny for this afternoon. Remember what I said earlier about the fact that where the warm front is, it's not going to have time to race its way all the way north here and cause us big problems. What we're going to be tracking is this cold front. And even if we get a lot of sunshine into the afternoon, it's still not going to lead to widespread weather. This is still going to be very scattered in nature. I would still prepare for some gusty winds and an isolated tornado risk going into this evening. Again, the severe risk is not zero, but it's not going to be as widespread is what we were looking at over in the weekend time frame. Kelly from Rock Falls asked if there's a scientific phenomenon occurring with the Mississippi River that causes the breakdown of many of the storms that push through the Midwest. Iowa gets more than us in Illinois. Believe it or not, the Mississippi River has nothing to do with it. It has to do with both the track of low pressure and the timing of the storms. Notice this storm complex that came in this morning. It developed way out in eastern Nebraska and near Kansas City. Not the best place you want storms to form if you want them to last as they come into here in terms of their severe weather capabilities. You want storms to form right here, either in central or eastern Iowa. Those are the ones that maintain themselves as they get in here, because by the time these storms got here, it's not the right time of day for severe weather. You need a fast, strong jet stream. You didn't have that here this morning. It was further south. So it really doesn't have to do with the Mississippi River. It has to deal with where and when the storms initially form. There is one body of water, though, that does have an influence on storms and can break them down here in the Quad Cities. And you want to guess what that is? Right here, Lake Michigan. If you can pull a strong enough easterly wind off of Lake Michigan, absolutely it'll kill storms as they come over to the other side of the Mississippi River. Kyle saying Sterling wanted a lot of wind now, raining and stopped. Is that what we didn't want, and for it to linger a little bit longer? Again, I think we've had enough lingering of this cloud cover and also these showers and storms to push that boundary farther to the south. This is the big time severe weather maker today, that warm front, and it's all the way down to St. Louis, and it is not coming back. So now it's the cold front's turn to do its work, and it will not produce nearly as widespread as severe weather as what that warm front is capable of. That's right, Richard, it is called a wake low. Kimberly's asking if Galesburg is going to get hit. Yes, we are expecting some strong wind gusts and a quick spin-up tornado potential for you today. Somebody's asking, they're going to be in Peoria from 4 to 8 o'clock. What is the weather supposed to be during this time? Tornadoes, rain, and wind. All of the above. A quick spin-up tornado will be possible for you, but it's going to be a little bit later in that time frame, likely after 7:30 after that time frame. I would say between 7 and 9 for the Peoria area. Could be a good rush of wind, perhaps a spin-up tornado, but again, not widespread. We're talking scattered, and the tornadoes today are weak. Let's see. Riley's asking about needing to worry between 4 and 8 o'clock. Definitely don't need to worry as much as what it looked like yesterday, that's for sure. Again, with this being scattered and not expected to be widespread, the potential of any one of you who are on the chat this morning of seeing any type of tornado activity is fairly low. It's less than 2%. So take that with some knowledge there. Very, very low tornado threat today, but it is not zero. Michael saying we had about 1.25 inches of rain in Clinton this morning. That is a healthy amount of rain. Yeah, that complex was very large. It had a lot of lightning and some heavy downpours with it. No doubt there's going to be some good rainfall totals, and I'll pile those up for you and have those for you first thing tomorrow morning on GMQC once this storm system gets out of here, and I'll get you those totals tomorrow morning. Amanda's asking about Moline. Moline, we need to keep things weather aware between, I would say, 5 and 7 o'clock this evening for that quick hitting line of storms developing just to the west of the metro, coming in with a good rush of wind and also a quick spin-up tornado threat too. Let's go through Future Track one more time. And again, we're getting the newest model in. We get a new run every hour. I'm on the high resolution version because we're so close to what's going to happen this afternoon. So what we're going to be watching again is that kind of agitated cumulus field, those little spiky clouds that I showed you out near Des Moines. That's the cold front. Here's the cold front at 5:30, sitting just west of the Quad Cities. Once we get to about 6:30, that's when the cold front will be slicing through the Quad Cities, and you can see the line of storms right here. Notice it's a little bit more intense the further north you go. I'm not surprised because that's closer again to the area of low pressure, and that's where you're going to get a little bit more lift involved with the storms there. Not as much coverage on the southern tail of this line here. There's more coverage to the north. So that gets into the metro Quad Cities about 6 to 6:30. Once we get to 7, it races over to the Illinois side of the river, and then it'll be out of here by 8 o'clock. So 5 to 7 o'clock for the metro, and then I would say 6 to 8 o'clock if you're east of the Quad Cities. That would be my timing for this line of storms coming through your particular region. Let's go to this graphic here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the timing if I need to, and I'm going to move these arrows around here. So actually, I think I don't need to update that timing much at all. That looks kind of spot on here from what I'm seeing in the latest model data. So isn't that ironic? A lot of similar timing to the last time I had to use this graphic. West of the Quad Cities, 4 to 6. Quad Cities proper, right around 6 o'clock. East of the Quad Cities, you're after 6 o'clock. So that graphic gives you a good explanation as to when the storms are going to arrive in your area this evening there. And I'll ask our director in the booth there, Alec, if he can take that full screen for me for a second so you guys can see, again, the estimated time of arrival. Don't really need to change the times here. I think that's perfectly okay for what we're looking at, especially with the latest run on Future Track there. 4 to 6 to the west of the Quad Cities, roughly 5 to 7 here for the metro. And then if you're well east of the Quad Cities, kind of east of Sterling Rock Falls, Geneseo, Kewanee, you're looking at closer to 7 o'clock. So in reality, you know, some of your late afternoon activities, maybe you've got a quick game of baseball at 4 here in the metro or east of the metro, you're probably going to be able to get that in without a problem. It's once we get closer to that 5, 6 to 7 o'clock time frame, that's when we could start to see some disruptions with that line of storms that's coming in. So that's what we've got. I hope all of that information helps. Again, we found that the more information we can put out there, the easier it is for you guys to understand what's happening and kind of make your own decisions for what you want to do for this evening. Again, the potential to see widespread severe weather rapidly falling, but we still can't rule out a scattered severe thunderstorm heading into the evening with a good rush of wind and the potential for a quick, brief spin-up tornado. Those, again, are not strong tornadoes. They just come up 1 scan, 2 scans of the radar, last for a few minutes, go right back up into the cloud, cause a little minor damage here and there. So you still need to be weather aware between 4 and 8 o'clock this evening. Grab the Storm Track 8 app or just tune in right here. We have the current at 4 o'clock, News 8 at 5, News 8 at 6. And if we need to be on the air for severe storm coverage after those newscasts, we will absolutely do that. So we'll see if I need to come back in this evening. Again, I'll keep a watch on things from home. If it looks like we're getting active, I'll come right back in and join meteorologist Morgan Strackbine, who will also be here in studio this evening. No worries, we'll continue to keep a sharp eye on that radar as we go through the afternoon, and you do the same by following us on social media, the Storm Track 8 app, and don't forget the 8 Plus app on your smart TV. You guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon.